Hey everybody, Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a quick update on my experience with the grip designed by Sony for the RX100 and RX100 Mark II, both of which are arguably the best pocket point-and-shoot cameras ever made, and in some ways the best cameras ever made, which I'll get to in a little bit. But today's update is all about whether or not this grip that you see attached right now to my Mark II is worth the $14.99 that Sony is charging. Keep in mind this is made by Sony, designed specifically for the camera being both the Mark I and II, as I mentioned earlier, and in my opinion, at the price point, yes, it is expensive for a piece of rubber that literally just uses double-sided tape to adhere to the metallic body that the Mark I and Mark II both sport. But when it comes to actual usability, it does make a remarkable improvement, in my opinion, in at least my personal comfort. Now, of course, I can't speak to every user out there, but one of the things that didn't put me off about the RX100 when it originally launched, or the Mark II, but certainly was something that I hoped they would improve upon, was the physical design when it came to actual grip. I mean, literally the only grip you have is that thumb grip that you're looking at right there. Your shutter button being right up there, top right, and really nothing to hold on to the front of the camera, because after all, the front of the camera does look exactly like the finish here, just, you know, a smoothed over aluminum, whatever sort of metallic build they use here. And one of the great features of the RX100 and Mark II is that they are both built like a tank. And as I mentioned earlier, what makes this one of the most compelling cameras isn't just the fact that it's a great pocket point and shoot, because it combines a 1-inch 20 megapixel sensor with some fantastic Carl Zeiss glass that's incredibly bright for a fixed lens camera, especially in its actual category and class, pretty much unmatched, very solid flash, a true hot shoe right up there at top, an articulating screen, which, even though it can't actually flip around, does give you at least a nice range of motion for framing shots without having to break your neck. You've got a multi-port, which is a micro USB port for charging, HDMI out. The multi-port is called multi because there are other accessories that work with this. Your charging, or I should say battery bay, is right there, as well as your SD card slot. The battery is charged in body for those of you unfamiliar with this little tank of a camera. But really it does represent best in breed, because then on top of all of these great features, you've also got Wi-Fi and NFC, something that were non-existent in the RX100. And that's really where the Mark II is an improvement. Technologically, they've improved the way the sensor operates for better low-light performance. So all good things, but again, the video is about the grip. Just giving a background for those of you who are stumbling upon this just by, searching the RX100 or Mark II, so you're not left kind of wondering what the camera's all about. So incredible still and video capability in something that is still going to fit comfortably in your pocket, although it is chunky compared to traditional consumer-oriented point-and-shoot cameras. But it's not priced to appeal to the traditional consumer, because you are looking at a camera that originally retailed for $750. The RX100, of course, for less, and now this can be found for $700, and the Mark I for as low as I've seen $400 these days. So I will link both the camera and the grip in my link description for Amazon. That's at least my personal preference when it comes to purchasing gear of this nature. You will be able to find a little bit of price differentiation on the grip, but very little, considering, after all, it is a very inexpensive product. Keep in mind that this entire concept of the grip was born from users. I mean, this is something where people felt the largest gripe with the camera was really ergonomics and just not having a place to put the hand, as I showed at the very beginning. And now, because we've got that grip, which you can physically see, you really do have a place to put your middle finger and grab the entire camera body, rather than worrying that while you're shooting, one-hand operation is a little bit iffy. There's no question that through the course of my use of both the Mark I and Mark II, I really did hope that Sony was going to do something like this, because even though there were third-party options, none of them, at least in my opinion, ended up looking this clean, and they shouldn't, because Sony is literally making this to specification. And if done correctly on their behalf, which it seems it was, then you're going to do well overall, because the fit and finish is perfect. the actual functionality. The grip itself works. I was a little concerned by the fact that it's double-sided tape, but you can see no give here, and application was incredibly easy. Absolutely no problem. Just line up the actual barrel with the cutout, and it's kind of impossible to miss. Take a look. If some of you feel I'm a little bit off, I don't expect to do it perfectly, but considering I spent no time on this, I think it came out relatively well, and you can literally grip. I'm going to try this, even though I probably shouldn't. Hopefully no on-screen disasters, but I'm literally gripping the camera just by the grip physically, although not the best idea because I was gripping it from the actual lip where the adhesive is, so you don't want to do that. But the idea, again, demonstrates it's solid. Sony would be making a grave error if they were selling this $15 accessory that would end up inducing all of us to destroy our cameras by dropping them because this thing just peels off. Now, in terms of how this is going to hold up over long periods of use, I'll update all of you because this camera isn't going anywhere. This is one camera I cannot live without. It's one of those that, as I mentioned before, arguably the best camera ever made, as well as the Mark I, because the fact that they gave you such capability in a pocketable form factor, and often the best camera you have or is the one that travels with you, because how good is a full frame beast system with incredible lenses if it never leaves the house, And for casual photographers that aren't pros, and even some pros that really don't want to lug around the heavy equipment, which is why things like, the A7 are starting to come, and the A7R, these new hybrids that give you full frame capability in much smaller bodies, something that really became popular with this camera, as well as the RX1 and the NEX models, in my opinion, more so than any Micro Four Thirds or other mirrorless options. Grip, all these little things that may seem minor. Sony realizes that true enthusiasts and people that are going to spend the type of coin that these cameras demand want to see integrated. So a nice full range of manual features here for a point-and-shoot camera. As I said, strong flash, hot shoe, great sensor, great Zeiss lens that's f1.8 at its brightest, and really just overall a solid piece of hardware. Great build quality. It did used to be made in Japan, the first RX100. This generation Mark II, no longer. They are now made in China, but as far as I can tell, build quality and performance is exactly in the exact same place that it originally was. Great control of the zoom here, step capability, and just software, by the way, that is in the same class as all of their being Sony's professional cameras, unlike something that the NEX, where the NEX cameras bring more of a point-and-shoot type menu. Here you're getting a more legitimate menu that would be found in something like the A7, the A7R, the RX1, the RX10. So it just speaks to who the camera is really after. And this grip also speaks to that, because clearly the average consumer, I don't think Sony would really be listening to. This is definitely a niche audience, and that niche demanded the grip. Sony saw that third-party manufacturers were making money, and clearly they would only do themselves a disservice, forget us as customers as well, not to step up. So in my opinion, a great accessory for what already represents one of the best cameras on the market, and a must-have. Unless you find that your hands are small enough that you really don't have a problem gripping this, but it also has to come down to just how smooth the material is. It's a beautiful camera, but just not the best when it comes to actual gripping it for long periods of shooting. This does rectify it. Again, how well it's going to wear, I'll report back. That's going to be the big test, with a lot of shooting and, of course, some sweating, which is inevitable with this sort of thing. I wonder how long this is really going to hold up, to the point where at least it'll be noticeable and I'll have warning that I need to ditch it. But overall, like the grip accessory, highly recommend it to all you Cybershot RX100 and RX100 Mark II owners. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. And of course, as usual, please feel free to subscribe. Later.